But the funny thing I was going to say about Velma is I often wear glasses and I often have my hair like this. And I was wearing bell bottoms and I was rushing through a store to buy a gift for my friend. And I was running late to the dinner. And so I'm there and a bunch of high school kids go, look, it's Velma. And had I had time, I would have been like, well, actually, I do play. But instead I was like, I got to go bye. And I like kind of got embarrassed and I ran.
Here she is, Kate Micucci, everybody. I'm not even going to do the intro because we know what you've been in and everything. So I'm Joe.
Hi,
Good to see you.
Nice
Have
to
a seat
meet
right
you.
over here. Have a seat.
Thank you. Hi, everybody.
I hope you're
Good
Kate.
morning.
We're expecting a Kate.
I think I'm Kate.
You get perfect.
We did it. Hi, everybody.
Perfect.
Good morning. Hi.
How is your? Well, it's almost morning. It's noon now.
Oh yeah. I'm
lunchtime.
still on West Coast time. But that's okay.
You've been here all weekend. First time to Terrificon.
First time doing any con, other than doing Comic-Con where you just go on a circuit.
San Diego
for your show.
Comic-Con, but that's
it's
a whole
different.
other thing.
This is my first official con. So,
okay.
Yeah.
There's information I did not know.
Thank you. I'm having so much fun.
I
Yeah.
dig deep, but I did not know that one.
Shout out to Sydney, who's hooked it all up for me. So.
There we go. Thank you, Sydney, for bringing it.
Yeah.
My goodness. That is how has been your first convention?
I didn't know what to expect, but I was feeling like hopeful and excited, and it has been so much fun.
Yeah.
I want to do more for sure. Like it's like one of those things where I get to meet all of these nice people and we get to share experiences, or it's been very fulfilling in a way where I feel like I'm getting a lot of goodness at me and vice versa. I think it's just fun. It's like a nice thing to do.
That's what I hear from a lot of actors too, because like when you're in that bubble of recording and filming different things, you don't get to see that. I mean, oftentimes projects, especially when you're doing voiceover animation, you don't get to see those projects for like 2-3 years sometimes. So it's probably like way in the rearview mirror. But then all of a sudden you realize the impact it has on a certain fan base. If there's anime, if there's Scooby-Doo fans, if there's Big Bang Theory fans or something, then you get to see that right in front of you. So what's been your most memorable fan experience so far? I know people have been bringing you things, which is cool.
Oh, it's been great. I had a guy yesterday. He just started learning ukulele last Sunday so that he could then sing to me the Steven Universe theme, and it was so touching and sweet, and he was wonderful. So that was one of the highlights. But yeah, and I mean it's easy for me to share in the fandom because I'm also I am a huge Scooby-Doo fan. I was for my whole life. So the fact that when I got that audition, I was like, oh, I really would love to be in Scooby-Doo because this is like my favorite cartoon. So so it's easy to geek out and be like, I love it, because I'm like, yeah, me too.
That's a good thing, because I think that passion, sometimes it's a gig, we get it. Sometimes you get gigs or whatever, but I think when the talent has the passion for the project, I think that comes through, and you can see that in a lot of the work that you do. So,
thanks.
I've got a bunch of nerd questions. We're going to get to Scooby-Doo and a bunch of things, but I mean, if you have questions, we want to get to those too. I don't see a microphone in here, so everyone's going to have to use their outdoor voice or something like that. We'll have to go from there, but we'll get to that. So think of your questions. We'll get to those in a little bit. I have to say, I have been following you on TikTok recently. So, and congratulations on the good health news.
Thank you.
And you've been so transparent, I think, in everything you've been dealing with and the good news that came out of that. So, I mean, whatever you're comfortable sharing for people, but I know that you're like, you caught it early and you're healthy now, so thank God. But I think you're trying to help get the word out too for the rest of us.
I am,
don't think about it.
And I'm still trying to figure out the right way to actually publicly I mean, I have no problem talking about it, but I do want to do more about. I had lung cancer last year. I'm not a smoker, so it was a very kind of shocking thing. But and also when I made that TikTok in the hospital, I was so high and feeling just $1 million, oh, this
In
is
fairness,
great.
you did say that you were on a lot of drugs as you were recording, so we got it.
What could go wrong? Let me tell everyone what just happened to me.
Send.
And I edited it, and I love editing on my phone, which has been a discovery for me this year. I had no idea. It's my favorite thing. But yeah, I was just put it together. Oh, how about a picture of me with a banana? Okay. And I just made this whole little TikTok, and I put it up there while I was just out of my mind in the hospital. And then I remember we got released from the hospital. It was really sweet because I have a 4-year-old, and he was about to have his first Christmas play at school. And they were like, yeah, we think we can get you out of here by 1 or 2 this afternoon. And I was like, is there any way that I can make my son's show at 1 p.m. and that all of the nurses at the hospital are like, we're doing this. And like, literally they just like pull the tube out of my lung and like blood's everywhere. And it's like, okay, you're going. And like, patched me up. And then I was like, hey, everybody, I just had cancer. And then it's like, and then we like speed away to the school. I'm like literally with all my hospital bracelets on telling everyone like, I just got out of the hospital. And then after all that, I look at my phone and I was like, oh, okay, like it was like, starting to take off a little bit.
Blew up,
and then I was like, oh, should I take it down? This is a little personal. And then I was like, no, it's true. It's what's happening to me. I'm always pretty transparent. And then maybe like it took 3 or 4 days for the news to catch on. And then I woke up one morning and I had like 60 texts. And I was like, huh. And then I opened up my computer and I was like, oh God. And then I started sweating and I was like, oh no.
What have I done?
Yeah. And then my brother called. He goes, I just heard on the radio in Virginia that I was like, I know, okay, it's too much. But no, it wasn't too much because this is the thing. I'm so glad I can talk about it and share it. And my story was really kind of crazy because I didn't have any symptoms, but they luckily found it on a scan because I was trying to chase some weird blood work.
I was going to say, this was like a normal checkup and like some blood work, and the doctor he was smart enough to find, or she was smart enough to find something.
Yeah.
And then they checked. I mean, that's unbelievable.
It was lucky. I just got a heart scan because my dad had some heart issues. And so they were like, why don't we just scan your heart just to make sure it's okay? And then the person was like, your heart's fine, but there's something here. Oh. So I got very, very, very lucky. But I think the overall thing is just stay on top of all your stuff. You know, it's like, I don't know. There's not a particular thing, especially more young people and more non-smokers are getting this type of cancer. So I don't know what it is. But.
Well, I thought it was interesting, too, because one of them, I think it was on the Good Morning America or something, you said, oh, my goodness, I can't believe my situation made the news. And it was Christopher Reeve's son, who's Will Reeve, I think, and he was the correspondent. He was saying, but if I'm correct, I think his mom, Dana, died of non-smoking lung cancer, too. That
was what really got me. That was the moment I kind of lost it, because my mom texted me, you were on Good Morning America. And I was like, what? And, but his mom was my age and, her husband had just passed away the year prior and she had this 12-year-old son and she died pretty quickly of this cancer. So it really made me go, wow, how lucky. Yeah. But I will say, I mean, of the upside of everything, and I think, we all in our lives have different things that make us go, okay, like reminders of like, I'm here, I get to be here. Like, how do I want to spend my day? Who do I want to connect with? How do I want to, bring good to the world? And like, I think if anything, going through this has really made me like reassess in a way and like go like, okay, what can I do today? What do I want to do? And of course there's days where
we have a friend joining us today.
I feel like, is it an ancestor? Who knows?
It's Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. He's going to turn into Jeff Goldblum in a moment.
Yes.
But yeah, so I feel like, it's been, the upside of it has been really wonderful and, just a good reminder to seize the day for any Newsies fans.
I love that you're doing that, and you've got this fan base out there, the people that love you, and then they could see that side of you, and they think, oh, maybe I should go get something checked out. I mean, I don't think, I'm speaking for myself, I don't probably think about my health as much, too, but when you see things like, you know what, you should probably check up.
Yeah, or something weird. So. Also, like, I mean, I guess in this instance, I wasn't checking my gut because I didn't have any, like, there wasn't anything to really, but like, if you have a gut feeling, like, I should double check that, or maybe a second, like, do it. It can't hurt. Yeah.
It can't hurt. The other thing I love watching you on TikTok is, and we'll talk about, your background too, but like the artwork that you're doing.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Where how do you? So you just like wander around and look. By the way, that fly lands in my head. Please just fling it. So because I think he's being wildly aggressive
Jeff,
today. So
come on,
I know.
Jeff.
I feel like I'm in a political debate here.
Yeah, right.
But like you'll find like trash in an alley or something like that. Like I saw this one, like these 2 abandoned refrigerators or something, and you just like go to town and make beautiful artwork. Like when did you think to do that?
Well, okay, it's been interesting. So
it's kind of a thing with you now.
It is. It's sort of a luck thing. Also, I got to say one thing this weekend that has been like so like because you never know, especially like being online. It's very much like you have no idea what's really actually connecting with people. But so many people have come up to me saying they're enjoying these videos, and I love making them. So it's been like hey, keep going. Like for me, it's been a boost to go like, all right, people are happy with. Like I'm going to keep doing these because it makes people happy. Yeah. But so last year I was in New York City in the summer, and I was like, I'm I'm 43 years old. Maybe now is the time to start tagging. I don't know if it's a midlife crisis or what. My version of tagging is like a little ukulele or, whatever. Right. And so I started just drawing around our block. And we were staying with our friends in New York. And then there was this like big yellow wall that like was untouched and freshly painted yellow, but it looked like this temporary kind of like construction zone. And I called my friends who are actual like real artists, but also taggers. I'm like, what's the rule for something that's untouched? And I'm like, go for it. So I'm like walking my cute little white dog. Like it's just like this little fluffy thing that everyone wants to pet. So I'm not being like sly. I've got a cute dog and I'm just like drawing. Yeah. And so I started drawing every night a little more on this thing. And then I just left it. And then like 5-6 months later, we pull up to go back to New York from the airport, get out of the cab. And there is a line around the block to the restaurant that I had drawn on. I didn't know it was going to be a restaurant. And I was like, oh my gosh, like my drawings are still on there. So I made a little TikTok. I just joined TikTok. And I was like, I feel bad. I drew on a restaurant. I'm going to go in there and apologize. And it turned into a thing, and it was so fun. And so then I was like, well, now I need to draw on more stuff.
I saw the one where you had to come back to the restaurant. You said you were coming back. So what was the result? Like, don't keep us in suspense. Did they make you paint over it?
I said I will happily go paint over this for you. And or if not, I'd love to finish it and like do it in a way that I'm not like rushing. Right. And they're like, no, please finish it.
Oh, they had okay, yeah, because I hadn't seen that one yet.
They gave me a free meal. It was so nice.
All right, cliffhanger. I was like, wondering what happened to the restaurant.
No, it's still there. If you ever are in New York in the East Village, it's called Jazba. It's a really good Indian street food restaurant. So it's like all like very interesting, colorful, very spicy dishes. They're really good.
Yes, interior decoration by Kate Micucci.
Yeah. Okay. So so then after that, I was like, well, now we live in LA, and we lucked out in having a garbage alley in the back of our apartment. Like literally, people leave the weirdest, grossest stuff, but I'm like, great. So there's always
canvas.
Yes. In fact,
what was the weirdest thing you painted on? Can you tell us?
I guess refrigerators, which I also think that's kind of dangerous because I don't know if anyone remembers that Punky Brewster episode from the 80s. Yes. That's like the one that really sticks with me, but there shouldn't be doors on the refrigerator.
Yes. Well, chain it.
Yeah,
and then
right.
paint on it.
Yeah. I'm always like afraid to actually open the refrigerator because I'm like, I don't know what's in there. But yeah, I guess refrigerator. I mean, I stay away from like there's a lot of mattresses.
Okay, yeah, that's
not
fair.
Going to draw on that.
That's fair.
But yeah, there's like
we don't want you in a hospital for any other reason.
No, this is true.
No.
But I daydream about like people just like bringing their trash, like really cool stuff for me. Like I daydream about, but then I start to wonder maybe the neighbors are doing that. I don't know.
Okay, yeah, you might have started something you didn't want to start. So it was cute at first, but now
I'm having a blast.
My front yard's all loaded with everybody's trash. So, all right, Jersey girl, born in Jersey.
Yes.
And then when did you move to Pennsylvania?
When I was 8, we moved to Pennsylvania in a very small town. So I went from, being in kind of like a more like, not a city, but very populated and close to New York and, more culture. And then we went to the farm and I was like, where am I? But I did have a very kind of sheltered upbringing in Nazareth, Pennsylvania, but it's a great town. And, but yeah, I got out of there to go to college. I was like, okay, I need to explore.
But musically inclined very early though, right? Did you learn piano at 4?
I started piano at 4. My mom tricked me into it. She had all the neighbors come over who played piano, and she sat me down, and every kid in the neighborhood played piano for me. They were older than me. And then after they left, my mom goes, do you want to take piano lessons? And I was like, sure. And then I was never allowed to quit. So she trapped me.
Wow. And then just when you was it in 5th grade, so Ricky Lindholm, when you were in 5th grade, were you both in the same? I was trying to figure out how this came, but you're our Garfunkel and Oates, but just your partner there. But so you guys knew each other when you were in 5th grade, but you didn't know like of each other, right?
No.
And then years later,
and not only
how did that all happen?
So it turns out that Ricky and I went to the same music camp when I was in 4th grade. I was in 5th grade. She was in 6th grade. And it's this teeny little music camp in northern Pennsylvania. Like it is not like a busy, like it was about probably 4 hours from my house and 4 hours from her house, but like, we didn't grow up near each other. Right. And we'd already been working together for like a year or two. And then she mentioned, oh yeah, and I went to music camp. And you hear like band camp, but music camp. I was like, really? I did too. She's like, yeah, I loved it. And I was like, I hated it. And then where was it? We went to the same music camp, Mansfield University in Pennsylvania. And then we were like, hold on, we were there at the same time. And I remember her click, because Ricky's like very outgoing and like, had a lot of friends, and I was crying every day. And, but I do remember her group trying to be nice to me and like trying to make me happier, So,
so there was a memory there that you have of something.
Like a vague, remember, I like, oh yeah, I remember that group.
Okay. Any photos from that era? Like, have you uncovered anything?
In fact, not long ago, Ricky was home and found a picture, and she's like, I think you're the sad girl in the front. And I was like, it was so blurry. I was like, that could be me. I don't know.
Good,
yeah.
Wow, that's fantastic. So do you remember your first gig, your first like paid gig as an entertainer?
Yes. Well, my first like non-union paid gig, my friends were doing a commercial for Worlds of Fun, which is the theme park. And I had to swing on a swing. And I was like 24, but I kind of looked like I was like 14. So so I was like a kid on a swing, and I was so stoked. I think I made like a couple $100. And then, but then soon after that, I started auditioning for like national commercials.
Okay.
And my first paying gig that was like a real job was for MoviePhone.com. And it was me eating a candy bar, and it played before the movie started. And it was like, I wish there was more MoviePhone.com in this candy bar. And it was just a voiceover, and I'm just like eating it. And then it was just like this weird, like 30 seconds of me eating a candy bar.
Yeah, that is strange. I was wondering if the one on the swing set was your first gig, because it's on YouTube. I actually saw it? Yeah, it's on YouTube.
Oh, I haven't seen that probably since we made it. That's
I saw it yesterday. It holds up to this day,
I'll have to look at it again for good old memories.
I want to, and again, we'll get to your questions and get them ready, but I want to get into Big Bang Theory, but talk a little bit about teaming up with Ricky, how that all came about, because you guys are both on Big Bang Theory in amazing roles, but talk about just sort of what was the genesis forming that group. It's a comedy group, but you guys are really, really good musicians.
Thanks.
On top of it
that's
too,
very kind.
Like,
yeah, I feel like we were friends for a few years before we started doing music. And I when you meet people in your life that you like just know you're going to, like, they feel important in that first meeting, whether it be like romantic or just like a partnership or just like a best friend or something. Like when I met Ricky, I just had this feeling like I'm going to know her somehow, and I couldn't quite figure it out. And then so we were friends, and she would have game nights.
Do you remember where you first met? Like where did you meet up? Was it at or something,
we'd run into each other a couple times we went to the same acting class, not acting class, but acting school. Like I'd see her around there, and then I ran into her at a brunch with a few people I knew, and I was walking down the street, and I was like, hi, and I was like, hi, I know, I like that girl. And then Doug Benson, the comedian, he's so wonderful. That was our mutual friend, and we both on the same night went to go see him do a show. We were hanging out in the lobby, and we just really hit it off. And afterward, we went out with Doug, and like we were hanging out, and so that was like what really solidified our like friendship in the beginning. And then, I guess it was like a year or two into our friendship that the writers' strike happened in 2007.
Okay, yeah,
or 8. I can't remember.
Yes.
No, 7. And so
everybody was looking for things to. Yeah, was that when the Joss Whedon with Neil Patrick Harris, and they were like
Dr. Horrible.
Dr. Horrible. I think that's all came out of that. So everybody was kind of like looking for these like sort of little fun talent projects they could do, and is that
totally? And I hadn't done enough to be like, oh no, where'd the work go? Because I hadn't worked yet. I was still just like babysitting and teaching piano. But Ricky wrote a short that she was going to direct, and she was like, I really want to make it a musical. And I went over, and then she put me in the short. But anyway, we wrote a couple songs very quickly, and we were so excited. And then we filmed them, and Ricky said, I'm going to show my mom and dad, and she put them on YouTube, which was very new at the time. And then I was like, oh, wait, people can see these? Oh, no. And like I almost wanted to say, like, take them down. And then it just started to go from there. And I would say, the cool thing, whenever you start a new venture, sometimes you just have to, like, pay attention to the universe. And it was, like, just things kept happening in a way that was like, hey, wait, now more people are watching our videos. Wait, we have a chance to play here? Okay, great. Oh, no, we got invited to play this show. And, like, we just kept going in a way that, like, it felt like something was pushing us along in a really like cool way that was like sort of a great like undeniable start,
Who came up with the name Garfunkel?
That was Ricky. She was thinking about like, I guess the funny thing is there is a joke in The Simpsons that predates us that is a...
There's always a joke in The Simpsons that predates They predicted everything about the future, right?
This is so true. But yeah, it was just kind of like the two guys of different duos. And because of that, we became friends with John Oates and are still friends with him today.
Oh, so did you perform with him?
Yes,
okay.
Very early on.
That's insane. How do you, like...
He found us on MySpace.
He got the joke, right?
Totally. I guess his assistant said, hey, there's this band and they're using your name. So then he wrote us on MySpace, so that really dates us. And he said, he goes like, I love your band. You owe me a beer for using my name.
Yes.
And then he said, do you want to open for me? He was doing his solo stuff in Agora Hills, which isn't far in LA. And so we were flipping out. Oh my gosh. And then we did Maneater. We got to sing Maneater with him. No. And I did a trombone solo, and Ricky had two dresses on of the same dress. So she did a striptease, took off the dress, but then had the exact dress on underneath. Right. And I think John was singing, going, Maneaters never looked like this before. It was just like, there were so many crazy things like that, but that was a real highlight.
He seems like he has fun with that too, because I started getting into this band called Yacht Rock Review.
Oh, cool.
And they do like a lot of Hall & Oates, and they do, a lot of different things like that. And they performed with Oates. Maybe joined him on stage one time and they were playing. I'm like, he must just be in on like all this. Like he just gets the whole pop culture references and just...
He's also just a really nice, genuine person. Like he's such a good guy and an amazing musician. So yeah, I think he does. He gets the joke in a good way.
Okay, so you two are together, and then speaking of Big Bang Theory, there's an episode, The Romance Resonance, and there's a song in it, If I Didn't Have You, where Howard sings to Bernadette while she's in quarantine for something. Okay. Did you both write that song? Like, was that from you guys?
Yeah. So Steve Malaro, one of the producers of The Big Bang Theory, Ricky and I both had been on the show already at this point.
Yeah. But you were Raj's girlfriend in season 6, and I think this was like maybe beginning of season 7 or somewhere around there-ish.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah.
And so they called and said, would you be interested in writing a song? We need like a kind of like romantic song, but funny. And I said, well, yeah, that sounds... Let me, let's do it. Yeah. And so Ricky and I wrote it, and then we recorded it and sent it over, and they were like, no notes. Like it was like, we love it.
Wow.
And so we're like, great.
When do you ever hear those words?
Never, ever. And not only that, but it was longer than it was supposed to be. Yeah. But Chuck Lorre, he was like, no, the whole song has to go in there.
He put the whole, so everything we see is it, because it's one of the most epic moments of big, like if you're going to pick like your top 10.
That's so nice.
That one in there.
I think we're really proud of that song, and the cool thing too, that set was just Big Bang Theory was like such a dreamy experience in every way. Everyone was so nice, and Simon is amazing. He's an amazing piano player, great musician, and so he learned our song, and he had his keyboard in his dressing room, and they invited us just to be a part of that for the whole week, because with sitcoms you practice, rehearse, and then you have the taping, and we got to be a part of that whole process, and over and over. We were crying. You'd look around, other people crying, because the way Simon and Melissa perform, you just really felt it, and it was
the way it's edited too. I mean, I've seen that episode probably like 20 times, and it still gets me every time.
Oh,
yeah. The song is so wildly specific to those characters and to science and to very specific. How did you even break any of that down? Like, did they give you? Oh, you could say this about Howard's mom or something. Like, did they give you some points of reference, or were you familiar enough with the show?
I think we were familiar enough, and I actually can't remember if they gave us like pointers or parameters. I don't remember, but
because it's a lot.
But Ricky's such an incredible lyricist that she's like a wizard in that way, where she did a lot of that like heavy lifting as far as like the science and the math. And I think that I honestly can't remember it. Like my brain's sometimes jello, but and memories are like it's tough. But
it was a while back. Too.
It was a while back.
I dig back.
But I can't remember if they gave us certain jokes, and I actually don't know.
Okay, no, it's interesting too, and it's just so interesting to know that, and then to see your characters outside of that, and just such two different worlds. It's amazing.
Oh,
do we
thanks.
have any fan questions out here? Any audience question? One right over here. Yep.
Hi.
Yell it out, real loud. Selling merch on your website.
I know. I'm trying to not even say this, but I'm going to say it right now. I'm a terrible business person. I need to be better at it, but I really do have intentions of making new merch, new shirts, and hats and everything. I had opened the store, And then I was doing it all on my own, which I also realize is insane and very difficult to like take the orders, box up everything, bring it to the mail, and so I had opened the store right when the album came out, my children's album that I did last fall, and that was right around the same time, like literally like the day I was like, oh, now I have to go get surgery. So I was like, store is closing, and nothing makes things sell out better than if you just announce the store is closing. So I basically sold out of my merch, which was great, and then spent days figuring out how to mail everything. But I will get back to it in probably a better format, so I don't have to keep going to the post office. But yes, it's coming, and thank you, because I need to do it sooner than later.
Who was the wonderful person that brought you here? What your name?
Oh, Sydney.
Sydney. Okay, can you help her with it? Can you?
Oh, great.
Are you on this? I mean, okay. You can't
Thanks,
do everything,
Sydney.
right?
Yeah, no, I thank you.
She can run to the post office for you.
Yeah. Oh no, I wouldn't make Sydney do that.
Do you have any other questions in the audience? Right here up front.
Hi.
What would you say is your favorite role from the animated series?
Oh, wow, favorite
It's a
voiceover
great
role.
question. And what's your name? Jack. Nice to meet you, Jack.
Nice to meet you, Jack.
I'm Kate. Thanks for your question. Yeah, I
There's
think
a lot of roles.
there are. I think just for my own childhood and nostalgia, I like I mentioned earlier, like Velma on Scooby-Doo is just to me like I can't believe I
it's iconic.
got to do it. And also to being in a room, pre-COVID, we would all be in the booth together recording. So, you'd have Frank and then Matt and Gray and myself, and I just close my eyes and I'd listen, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm in the show. What? Like, with these legends. And so it was really fun. So yeah, Scooby-Doo.
That, you alluded to your audition for that. Can you sort of take us back to that? Because, this is not only a character, but this is a show that goes back well over 50 years. I mean, I'm old enough, I can remember, maybe not right when it premiered, but I saw it like not too long afterward, and have just been a Scooby fan forever.
Yeah.
And like you mentioned, Frank Welker, right there from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a chance to interview him on Comic Book Central, and he's just, he's a legend. He's an absolute legend.
Isn't he? He's amazing.
Can you just talk about the audition? Did you know, just take us through that whole process of like how you found out that they were looking for Velma, because I think Mindy Cohn had been doing it up until then, right before
she
you.
Had, yeah.
Okay.
And I at the time we were shooting the Garfunkel and Oates TV show, which I wore many hats in that, producing, acting, it was a big job, and every day was like a full day. There was no moment to
16-hour days, I'm sure.
It was like, and we were in the thick of it, and so I was on set, and I got that audition, and
they reached out. So your agent just said, "Hey, by the way, they're doing this."
Yeah,
and it's Velma.
And I had heard Colette Sunderman, who's the amazing voice director. She's done so many shows. I think she had maybe thought of me as someone who would be a good person to audition, and so my agents were like,
"Gee, I wonder why."
I have a funny story. I'll tell you after that.
Right.
But so I was like, okay. I mean, of course I want to audition, but I was like, I can't go in. I'm going to have to do this. And so my agents were like, all right, just record on the weekend. And so I was in my closet recording, and I sent it on GarageBand or through GarageBand. And then
did you have some scenes? Did they give you specific scenes, or did you just kind of make stuff up?
They gave me a script to go by, and then and then they had notes. So I had like a callback essentially. But I had the craziest week, and I said, I don't really think I can give it my full all until the following weekend. Right. Which is, now looking back, insane, but it was really true. And so the next weekend I go back in my closet and I do the notes. And then I was on set. I remember exactly where I was, and when I got the call that I got the part, and I danced around this tree in a park. I was so excited. Wow. And
just by yourself, just out there.
Just dancing, doing circles, and like a little puppy. And and so that was like a cool, like very cool gig to get. I mean, I think whenever I've done a lot of like little dances to myself along the way, but that was a big one.
Again, not shocking. This seems on brand.
But the funny thing I was going to say about Velma is I often wear glasses and I often have my hair like this, and I was wearing bell bottoms and I was rushing through a store to buy a gift for my friend, and I was running late to the dinner, and so I'm there and a bunch of high school kids go, look, it's Velma, and had I had time, I would have been like, well, actually, I do play. But I was like, I got to go by. And I like kind of got embarrassed and I ran.
That would have freaked them out.
Yeah.
That would have absolutely freaked them out. Did you, when you're doing the dance and you get did you just get a sense of the history of, I mean, because you were a fan, right? I mean, you watched the show, like you were watching all these things. What did that mean to you? I got the role, yay, and work, which is good. Always good to have consistent work too. But then when you think about the legacy and the fan base and the generations that have come along, is that, or maybe it even hasn't fully hit you yet?
I mean, I didn't really think about all that, you know,
moment,
and like even things like this weekend where you get to connect with you know other fans is so nice. But like for me, it was just like, you know, eating cereal in the morning as a kid, watching this show and loving it, and I love a good mystery. So and it's solved by the end of it, the 30 minutes. But I think it was just really my inner kid, just like so excited.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Is there, I mean, we talk about Frank Welker. Did you guys get to record? You mentioned some of this. I know with COVID, it's completely different. And I talk to voice actors all the time, and they're like, man, it's pretty much, I'm in New York. I go in a studio and they ship that over. It used to be like a radio show where people, you know, like the Batman, the animated series, they all got together. Mark Hamill was there. Did you ever get to do any of that? Do you get to do some of that with the other actors? Or is it mostly just sort of you all isolated?
Well, now more than ever since COVID, it's just mostly separate. I've done one record that was a group record recently. And it was like, honestly, like it felt so nice because there's nothing like playing off another actor in the room, like, and that, you know, I think it's probably made the voice directors, like their job, this is where they are key because they know what the other person's doing or has done, and they know how to like then give you the line to then feed off that person or what, you know, it's like it's like one step removed, but I do think that it still works, obviously, but I prefer being with the people. Like it's just, there's nothing like, you know, in fact, you mentioned Mark Hamill. My very first voiceover job, it was a show called Motorcity for Disney XD, and it was only one season, but oh my gosh, it was this beautiful show. And and Mark played my dad, and we had this like dramatic father-daughter scene, and we were together in the room, and it was so, for me, like, wow, like this is crazy. It was such a cool moment, and like, you know, it's those moments where you get to
fangirl out with Mark Hamill at all, or did you?
I was definitely more like there was I didn't really outwardly, I inwardly fangirl, you know, but I didn't go, oh my gosh,
I mean, he knows people do that all the time.
He's also just the nicest. But also I just remember the scene kind of driving that feeling because it was such a dramatic scene, and he's got such a cool, like it just like. It was exciting.
He throws himself into it. I mean, I think when you know, the late great Kevin Conroy would tell me, he was just, Hamill would devour the mic. Yeah, he would just absolutely devour the mic. Welker's a legend. I mean, so your team is Welker, is Fred and Scooby, and he's been Fred since day one.
Yep.
I mean, OG Fred, and then Matthew Lillard is Shaggy, and then Gray Griffin is your Daphne, right? Okay, so is that mostly the core team for most of the Scooby projects that you do? And I know that some things come in and out, probably depending on Lego World or video games or something. But generally
that was always, you know, for about, oh gosh, I don't know. I mean, I started in 2014, so I guess pre-COVID, it was for me 6 years of just goodness in that way.
Right.
And then it was always so nice because we'd have a guest often. So like Bill Nye or like, you know, just like really cool people. Sometimes they'd actually be with us. Often they were like, you know, too busy to actually join, but when they did, it was really fun.
Because there's the Scooby-Doo and Guess Who, which is a throwback to the old, was it the Scooby-Doo mystery, and they would have like special guests. Sonny and Cher would be on, you know, and it was like the Addams Family, the Harlem Globetrotters. Yeah. You've seen them all.
I love that one.
Yeah, so did you get to, like, you didn't get to meet Ricky Gervais at all?
No, I didn't get to meet him. That would have been a cool one. CO would have been a cool one.
Okay. Who all has been on that you've actually been able to meet? Like, who are some of your favorite guest stars that you've gotten to work with? Or like, oh, I didn't know so-and-so would be here today.
Well, Bill Nye was probably like, for me, he's like one of those people that like, when I first met him, I was like couldn't keep it together, like shaking, like hello, Bill, he's just so cool. And
Okay, so for Mark Hamill, you kept it in, but for Bill Nye the Science Guy, you lost your mind. All right. Now we know.
Yes, that's true.
Did you post Bill Nye posters as a kid?
Yeah, above my bed.
Yeah.
There was a great thing where he and Gray, we were out in the just like in the hangout area in the lobby of the studio, and he went to Gray and goes, dance with me, and they danced, and it was like he's a great dancer. I think he was on
Who knew?
Dancing with the Stars, but
I don't watch that, so I
they
wouldn't
danced
know.
together. It was very sweet, but he was definitely a highlight.
Okay. And then what have you learned from Frank Welker at all? I mean, there's just the history of animation right there in one individual.
Yeah, and I mean, the way he can, because he plays Scooby and Fred. Mm-hmm. So when he's doing a scene with two characters and just effortlessly, like just perfect, 1, 2, like one guy, next guy, it's so amazing to watch. And then when he does animal sounds, and there's a great video of him doing sounds for, I think, The Lion King on YouTube if you get a chance to see it. But no one does, he makes his face this like weird, like I don't know how he does it, but I mean, I wish I could say I've learned how to make animal sounds. I'm not nearly, I can't
but
do
just
it like
to be in his presence. I mean, he did the monkey in Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yes.
He was doing different things like that.
And Aladdin, and I hear him now. I have a 4-year-old, so I get to hear him, Curious George, and then also the real Ghostbusters. It was a big, it's nice. I hear Frank a lot, but yeah, I think the other thing I've learned from how like he's just so humble and gracious and just such a sweet man, and to be in this business for so long and be like one of the probably the biggest. Like, have you ever looked at Frank Welker's IMDb? I don't know.
Oh,
it's wild. Like it just goes and goes. Like so to do all of that so well and be so such a wonderful person, I feel like he's really special.
Yeah. Even with the character, there's so many variations because we were talking about Scooby-Doo, obviously. And he said, there's some projects where Scooby is just, just he can talk, like he can make words, but it's just like the old school stuff, he doesn't talk much at all. I mean, he just says a few things. And then he says there's projects where he has like these huge monologues as Scooby-Doo, and he's like, I'm like, how do you just, he just goes, it's, each one has its own thing. And he goes, but that one does get to be a little tricky because he has to actually enunciate as Scooby-Doo.
Right. So. It is interesting because, you get so many different writers writing for the same franchise. And so, like, sometimes they'll be like, hey, if Velma wouldn't say that, or do you think, it's often like, oh, I don't know that she would say it this way, or, it's nice to be able to work with the writers and figure it out. But that is, for Frank to do a monologue that's a tricky thing.
It's amazing, too. We have any questions? Yep, right in front.
Oh, great. Thanks. Gosh, yeah. I mean, well, Scrubs for me, that was like one of my very first things, and that really also helped Garfunkel and Oates because Bill Lawrence had heard our song on YouTube, and he was like, "I think this song would work really well in our show. Could we use it?" And so I was in this what was basically an abandoned hospital where they shot Scrubs, and I'm in this like weird hospital room, and I'm trying to reach Ricky, who happens to be in Spain, and this is before like smartphones, so I'm like trying to track down where she is, and I finally get to her, and I was like, hey, they want to use our song, and she was like, great, and so that was like a kind of funny thing to like just like the scenario of being in an old hospital trying to find my writing partner on the phone to get the permission for the thing. It was like, but it all worked out so well. And one of my favorite memories was singing with the Blanks. We were practicing. We were in the stairwell of the hospital, and it was echoey, and they're just amazing, with their harmonies. And I was there with my ukulele, and we did "I'm Carrying On My Wayward Son," and I'll just never forget being in that stairwell singing with them. And it was just like this really, like one of those moments where like, okay, remember this forever. This is really special. I also, the very last episode where everyone that had ever been on Scrubs basically was in the hallway as Zach walked through. And I really only came in there at the tail end, which I felt so fortunate. And Zach looked at me and he goes, "Thanks so much for joining us," in a way that was like, oh, like I can't believe I get to be a part of, like looking down this hallway at all these actors, so many that I knew and admired, and it was like that was a really special moment, and it was for me like the very beginning of my career. So it was a really nice way to like kind of step in a little bit. So yeah, that was a cool. Scrubs was a great experience, and everyone was on that set as well. So nice, and they tore down that hospital eventually, and now it's condos, and I really wonder if they're haunted. In fact, literally just the other day I was telling my son, there might be ghosts in there. And he goes, well, we got to call the Ghostbusters.
You got to call Scooby-Doo and Mystery Incorporated.
Totally.
Yeah.
Get them all in there. So, yeah, and then as far as Raising Hope, again, I was so lucky. They wanted to use some of my songs, and they wrote songs for me, and oh gosh, so many Cloris memories. She was just such a funny woman, and I'd ask her stories, like, tell me about Judy Garland, and she was neighbors with Judy Garland for a long time, and she just like, she'd seen it all and been around for so long, and her acting is so incredible. So just to be around a legend like that was very cool. And I remember we were doing a scene where we're chasing Cloris, who's in I think a motorcycle, and we're chasing her down, and I'm in like running after her, worried about her, and I think I was with Shannon, and we're running down the street, and she looked at me and she goes, "You're not running like you think I'm gonna die." And I was like, "You're right. I'm in these weird heels that don't quite fit, and I'm worried I'm gonna trip and roll my ankle." But she was right. I wasn't running hard enough in a way that would have been like, Mama's gonna die. We gotta save her. I was just like, my shoes. And I was like, man, she's a good actress, and she knows how to get to the point. Like I'll never forget that. But oh yeah, there were so many times. I did a cartoon of this, but one time I just hang out with Cloris in her dressing room, and we watched the Olympics, and she thought all the guys were really hot. She made me laugh a lot.
She's not watching pole vaulting, is she?
No, it was like I think it was basketball that we were watching.
All right. Any other fan question? Yep, right front.
Hi. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
And then shortly thereafter, your characters two fixed on the show. Do you know if one affected the other? If they kind of changes because of that?
I don't know. That's a really good question. I wasn't even aware about the other dead tooth, Catherine's dead tooth, until actually just yesterday somebody got me confused with that character. And I was like, so we had to Google it. And I'm like, oh, here we go. But I would have to get the full story. I think I would imagine it was like somebody's notes, like we need to make her look less crazy or something. I don't know for sure, but I do know that I would get. I remember one time someone was like, "Oh my gosh, they make you look so awful on that show," and I was like, "All they do is color my tooth." So I don't know. Maybe it was a matter of like trying to make me look a little better. I'm not sure. I would have to ask some like Greg Garcia would probably know. But then the funnier thing / not funny is I passed. I used to faint a lot, and I passed out and I hit my tooth, and then the exact tooth was a dead tooth. Yeah, got one fake tooth.
You've been in so many iconic, Big Bang Theory iconic, Scooby-Doo, so many different. I do want to ask you before in the time we have left about another iconic television series that you got to play a part of, and you got to join an unbelievable legacy within that iconic series, Night Court.
Oh yeah,
I had a chance to talk to Brent Spiner's been on the show a few times.
He's so great.
And he's actually done Bob Wheeler on the show, which is very tough to get Brent Spiner to do. But when I saw the Wheelers were coming, have you guys seen the episode of Night Court? Okay, with the Wheel. Okay, it's back in the day. In the original Night Court, they were the unluckiest couple ever, and they were supposed to be from West Virginia, and then I think they got a lot of letters from people from West Virginia, so then made them, Yugoslavian or something like that. But the show came back. Brent Spiner came back. Was it Annie? I want to get the actress's name right. Annie O'Donnell.
Yep.
As June Wheeler, and then you come in as the daughter.
Yeah.
Did you know anything about the original Night Court and the Wheelers and one of Brent Spiner's first role. Did you know anything about that, or did you have to?
I had
YouTube
Googling and
thing.
YouTubing
Okay,
to do,
that's
but when
fine.
Melissa, who I became friends with through Big Bang,
Right.
she's just so great, and she called me and she was like, "There's this part I would love for you to do,"
Yeah.
And she explained the Wheelers,
And she's producing the
producing
show.
it.
She's starring in it. She's doing it like
she's
it's
doing
her,
it all.
her
She's
project, yeah.
incredible, and
Okay.
she's so funny, and in the episode that I did, she also had this like amazing heart to heart with John LaRoquette, and it was
Yes.
it's really amazing to watch her work and have all the hats on at the same time. But she was so gracious and asked me to come on the show and be the daughter of the Wheelers.
Yeah.
So then when I start watching, I'm laughing so hard that the Wheelers
They're on like 6 episodes.
and
Yeah,
it's
there's a
so
classic.
well written. And what's so fun about those clips, if you go back, you can see the other actors trying not to laugh.
And failing miserably.
And
Yeah,
yes, and
yeah.
it's so fun. And so I was very excited. And then like to meet them, and Brent and Annie were so nice, and we just all hit it off. Like just had a great week together. And
did he help you with your accent? Did you watch enough of
I
the
did,
old
and I
Night
wasn't
Courts?
sure how much they wanted. We kind of played with it a little bit.
Yeah,
and,
it's over the top. It has to be over the top, yeah, to some level.
But then the thing I learned from him was he would every day in rehearsal he had to bite into an onion.
An onion.
And he just
Free
would,
onion's a free onion.
Yes. You know it so well. He would do this trick, like this old theater trick, where he'd like pretend to bite into it and then have his tongue in the side of his mouth, and it would really look like he was eating this onion. And I was like, how are you
Was it a
doing
real
that?
onion?
No, this is so
okay.
cool. Props took a jicama and made it look like an onion
I was
to a
gonna say,
point where
'cause
if
it
you looked
looked-
at it, it looked like a real onion.
It looked a man. I'm like, did he actually eat a real onion? Okay,
No,
so
but he taught me like a trick. Yeah.
nice. All those great tricks you're
Yeah.
learning too. And there's a timing aspect to everything the Wheelers do, because there's this huge setup, and then especially Larroquette is a genius at just waiting for this pause too. And then Brent Spiner will just come in with the punchline, this horrific punchline, and it's usually like one of 3. There's like these horrific tragedies that happen to these people. So, were you just kind of getting that sense of them, that there's a Wheeler cadence that we
Yeah. And
wait for it because the tragedy's going to come.
what was so incredible, and everyone was commenting on it, was that the two of them hadn't skipped a beat in nearly 40 years.
Right.
They had it down like they had just done it yesterday, and it was so fun to watch. I had another experience like where I was on the first episode back of Will and Grace when they rebooted it, and I just got to I felt like a fly on the wall, and watching like Deborah Messing go, look at my office, like everything was new again, and it's kind of cool like to watch. So it was another experience of watching these actors kind of like get to revisit something that they love to do, and it was really fun. One of the things they told me was that back in the day, in the 80s, they had to just like hang out on in the audience until their scene was up for the whole week.
Oh wow!
Like they didn't have dressing rooms, and I was like, wow. Like you would think in the 80s they were living large, but no.
Still, yeah. I mean, there's Family Ties and a bunch of different things out
Yeah.
there too. So they were recurring characters on the original Night Court. So you've had one episode.
I'll knock on my head.
Are there more Wheelers? Like they would come back like every season almost. Like
it would be so much fun. I don't know. I have no idea what they have planned, but
okay.
I've already told them if they need me, I'm there.
You're
so.
there for Carol Ann
Yeah,
again. So
definitely.
it was fantastic. You've joined the legacy of Night Court perfectly. So I'm going to close out just favorite memories of Big Bang Theory.
Gosh.
It doesn't necessarily have to be a favorite episode or something, but just maybe something you and the cast got to do, or just things you remember.
Oh wow, let me think here. There's so many like cool. I mean, the nice thing about Big Bang Theory is they'd often have people who the show meant a lot to them. Like Make-A-Wish kids and things like that. And I was only there for maybe 8-9 episodes. I'm not really sure, but it was amazing how often they really were there for these people, and you got to hear their stories and like bring just it was really just a special thing that the cast and the crew would do, and so yeah, there were a couple of moments there where like you'd leave and just like wipe your eyes, but like it was that was really special, and it's something that I think really shows how wonderful that that group of people, you know, they knew the show meant a lot of people to somebody. But I'll never forget, like, as far as like a happy kind of crazy thing, just the first time I was on the show, everyone kind of gave me a heads up, like, hey, you know, the studio audience, it's like, it gets kind of crazy. Because I had done sitcoms before, and I love doing sitcoms. It's actually my favorite thing. Because like putting on a play,
like
it's so good. It's a great experience of just like practice, and here's the show. And they're like, just get ready for tonight. And then I'll never forget walking on that stage and hearing the audience. It was like being at a rock show.
Wow.
Like everyone was so pumped up, and it was just a really cool, like, yeah, it felt different than any other sitcom I'd ever been on.
Was that? I mean, you're coming into a juggernaut, and that's always tough for a guest star to come in. I mean, any challenges with that, or they just sort of brought you right in?
Oh,
and
as far as the whole cast and crew, everyone was just like, they were so wonderful, like welcome, and made me feel really good. It's interesting though. I was warned, like they were like, just so you know, whenever there's a new girl on the show, like the internet doesn't seem to like it. And that's true. So yeah, it was a good heads up. But you know, I had already a lot of experience with the internet as far as YouTube and Garfunkel and Oates. I've read some crazy things. So so I was kind of used to. I already had a bit of Teflon regarding that. But
you're tough enough, and you're a Jersey girl on top of it. So you know what? You're not going to mess with a Jersey girl. So what's next for you? What do you got coming up?
More trash, baby.
More art trash.
I honestly don't know as far as
like
acting.
Children's book. You should do like a children's book.
Oh, I'm actually working on that, which is great.
Well,
I've got a couple things in the works there, which is exciting, and then also, I mean, acting. You know, just like it's. I don't know I never know what the next thing is, but I kind of never have really. So that's okay. You know, right now we're kind of we're doing our own separate projects, which has been really great. And Ricky's right now in Edinburgh doing her solo show, and I put out my kids album. I'm going to be, if you're in LA in September, I'm doing my show at the Puppet Theater on September 15th. But yeah, so like I think it's been really nice to kind of do our own things. But I'm sure that inevitably we'll get back to it. But yeah, at the moment we don't have any shows in the books at the moment.
But you'll announce it on TikTok. You'll announce it wherever you're at, and we can follow you over there. And where are you at on the socials?
Just my name, Kate Micucci. Although I think on TikTok I'm maybe Katie Micucci because I couldn't get my own name. Wow. I don't know how to find me. That probably can't be good for business. But yeah, I'm somewhere on there.
More Scooby-Doo voices.
You know,
coming?
I don't know. I don't know about that either. All right. But if you find me in the alley, I'll be there with my markers.
We know where you are. Folks, give it up for Kate Micucci.
Thanks so much, everyone. Thanks for spending some time with me tonight, or today, whatever it is. Thank you. So nice to meet you.
This is Kari Walgren, and you're watching Fandom Spotlight. Be sure to like and subscribe. Plus, remember to have fun and follow your fandom.